Namaste. Welcome, everyone. I am glad to introduce our host for the session today, Dr. Sampadana Mishra. He is our professor at Rashtram School of Public Leadership. He is a renowned Sanskrit scholar. He completed his PhD from Utkal University. And at his heart, he is a disciple of Sri Aurobindo and the Mother. He is an excellent speaker, writer, and researcher with several awards and accolades, such as the Badrayana Vyasa Samman from the Government of India, Sahitya Academy Award, and others. Without much ado, over to Dr. Sampadananda Mishra.
Namaskar to all of you, and then I welcome you all in this webinar titled as Yogic Approach to True Leadership, and we are hosting it on a very auspicious day, the International Day of Yoga. And today we have various speakers to speak on this, but most importantly, we are very happy to welcome Sri Suresh Prabhuji, who actually needs no introduction and has graciously accepted our request to address the gathering here today. He is the Chancellor at Rishihood University, Rajya Sabha MP, and former Cabinet Minister, Railways Commerce, and he at Rishihood and Rashtram, we take much inspiration and pride to be backed by his wisdom, guidance, and encouragement. Once again, I welcome you, Sureshji, and then my heartiest pranam to you. And then we would like to have your blessings and few words on yogic approach to true leadership. Thank you. Over to you, Suresh.
धन्यवाद Sampadan ji, Mishra ji.
Namaskar.
I really honored by the fact that I'm able to talk to such a distinguished people today. To all those who are already leaders who are teaching here, and all those who are joined here as students who are aspiring to be the leaders of the society tomorrow. So it's a very good amalgam of today's leaders and the futuristic leaders. The leaders of today, which will be guiding the leaders of tomorrow, in the same tradition that we have going on for ages, the Guru Shishya Parampara. But on this today's special day, when thanks to our Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, that the world is celebrating World Yoga Day. Yoga is an instrument which helps us to reach out to that part of our body, that part of our system, which many times we live very long life, we never tap into that resource. So happens that if there is a big palace which a new generation in the family has inherited, and there are so many walls, so many cupboards in the house, that many times the new generation has never even opened it. And it so happens, it could happen that a generation which never opened it also passed away. And then suddenly, maybe few generations later, people said, why it is not opened, why it is looking like this? They open it and they thought, oh my God, what a treasure. We never knew that my forefathers had kept this for me. It is gold, it is jewels, it is everything else. So the untapped treasure is not known unless it is opened. Same way in our life, we have got so much of possibilities within our own self that we never tap, never utilize. And most of the time, people just leave this world without even knowing what they have lost because they never knew what they have. So there's no question of losing it. Yoga is one such instrument of knowing about your own self, realizing your own potential, tapping into that reserve which could actually help you to reach newer heights. More importantly, yoga helps you to know your own self. That is very important. Most of the time, we use our energies knowing others, finding fault with others. I will make my CV in which I'll write, I know this much, this person, I know that person. I know the Prime Minister of this country. I know the President of another country. I know the CEO of one company. I know the CFO of another multinational company. So that's how my CV gets full. If you ask that person who has made such a huge CV, you have spent so much of your time knowing so many other people. How much of your own time you devoted to knowing your own self? You would say, I never found time because I was so busy meeting such great people, collecting their business cards, adding them to on my LinkedIn account and whatnot. Today's program is celebration of World Yoga Day by an institution which is really, in my opinion, an instrument of transformation of society. So it's a very good sangam. When there are more rivers meet each other, we call it sangam. It's a sangam of celebration of World Yoga Day, which will actually transform your own self. At Rashtram school, which has a potential to transform the society. We use these words. Many times we use vocabulary, different words, very loosely. And therefore they lose their true meaning. They're so often used so loosely that they're potent, their importance, their true meaning is lost because they are used very loosely. Transformation is one such word. The transformation is changing the complete character of a person, character of what we are going to transform. He retains the essence, but the body, the texture, everything changes. Human beings, I just use the word transforming human beings through yoga. When you get transformed, do you mean my face will change? My personality obviously will change, but will it be exterior that will change? I will remain the same. For somebody who is looking at me, he says, of course I know you for so many years, you look the same. But the transformation will change me internally. Complete change. So externally I look same. But my entire attitude, my thinking, my thought process, my aptitude, all will change because in yoga, I will actually align my body, my soul, my mind together. And that's how my everything will happen. Suppose if you are fighting a war with an enemy country, what you will do? You will bring all your resources together, Air Force, Army, Navy, all the three armed forces will be joining hands to fight the enemy. Here, we have the mind, we have the body, we have the soul. I don't know which is Air Force, which is Army, and which is Navy. But we are all the three. We don't bring them together and we still want to fight. So we fight with our own self rather than fighting together and bringing all of these together for fighting my inertia, fighting my inabilities, realizing my potential. And I don't do that. So that is how the transformation will happen. And that's the true meaning of word transformation. In Rashtram school, we are trying to transform the society. Society will remain the same. There will be cities will be there, towns will be there, villages will be there. The people's name is not going to change. But all these individuals who form the society, they could be transformed because the school is going to teach tomorrow's future leaders. The leader has to lead. Lead to what? He must lead a group of people for changing their lives for better. When you say better, there are enough evidences that wealth alone doesn't transform societies. Wealth is important, but not the only way you can transform societies. Transformation of society needs a complete attitudinal change, complete value system change, and all of that can happen through a process. There are many processes which needs to be put in place at the same time. But the most important element of that change will happen only when we are leaders. I'm deliberately using the word leaders, not leader, because we need leaders at various levels. We need leaders at shop floor, we need leaders at board level in case of a corporate entity. We need leaders in primary school, in secondary school, university, or educational institutions. We need leaders at village level, at district level, at national level, at state level, for political class. So we need leaders at every level in education, in healthcare, in engineering, in science, all kind. So they will discharge different aspects of the needs of the society, but they will still lead with a purpose. They will want that as an individual can realize his potential through yoga, they will try to reap the latent talent of the society as a whole. By inducing the individual, obviously, because you cannot transform society unless you element of the key elements of the society are transformed individually. So they will influence the leader to change it that way. I often quote this. I would like to quote it again, even at the cost of repetition. There was a great philosopher, J. Krishnamurti. I used to hear him a lot. I read a lot about him and his own philosophy. One thing used to strike me when I was very young, about 17, 18, I used to listen to him in Mumbai, where he used to come to JJ School of Arts on his beautiful lawns of JJ School of Art. He used to give a speech, his lecture, his discourse. It was fantastic. The place was beautiful and his voice was so nice and the delivery was even better. But one of the things that struck me, that you can change the world if you change one person. And his idea of leadership was thought leadership. He said thought is a cause of a problem, and thought can be a process of transformation. I think through this Rashtram school, we are actually creating leaders who will transform the individuals and in the process transform the society, and that itself will actually realize the true meaning and the true potential of the Rashtra. that we all cherish, we all love. We believe in our mother, Bharat Mata, and all of that needs so many different leaders. Army has one general, but can only one general lead the army? There are so many different levels of officers who are leaders, who lead because of hierarchical structure. They lead because there is no choice, otherwise you'll be court-martialed. We don't want the leaders who will follow you under the fear, but we want leaders who will motivate the followers, the students in this particular case, but over a period of time, the students, when they pass out as leaders in their respective field, they should lead by example. They all must believe in a shared principles, shared objective, shared higher values for the society. And they should actually inculcate those into the system through their own behavior as well as through the thought process. I think that is what we need it. And I'm sure Rashtram School will provide that. I'm very fortunate, very, very fortunate that I am part of this great endeavor as a chancellor of this university. And I take great pride in saying that I am the chancellor of this because I can really share with all of you, and through you, I can also benefit to realize the true potential of a great country. All of us one day are going to leave this world. If we can leave the world by saying that when I was born, my country was like this, I'm glad to say I contributed a little bit of it to make my country greater and better than what it is today. And that for that is a sort of a transformation over a period of time, not this little bit incremental change, but a total transformation. But that can happen through the leadership process which we have initiated. I'm really happy that on such a nice auspicious day, World Yoga Day, we are actually targeting both the individuals and the society together and try to help individual to transform their own life, to realize his own potential and the true meaning of his life, why he was born. The same way all of us together, we like to use our own energies to transform the societies of which we are all the members. Thank you very much. God bless you all.
Dhanyavad. And we're immensely grateful to you, Sureshji, for your gracious presence today and for the inspiring words. Indeed, if we look at our Rishi culture, the history of the nation, the Rishis were the true leaders of these nations. And the true leaders are expected to attain to that state of Rishihood and then operate from that state of consciousness to lead the country. So we have the message from our Rishis, Vayam Rashtre Jagruyamah Purohita. So we will remain awake in this Rashtram, being the true leaders. So once again, I thank you immensely for your inspiring words. And to take forward the whole session, so I welcome Srimati Shovana Narayanandi and Shubha Vilas, who are present here to inspire us by their words. And to give a little bit of introduction to Srimati Shovana Narayanandi, who is our next speaker. So Padmashri Srimati Shovana Narayanandi is a very famous, recognized Indian Kathak dancer, and she's a student of Brij Maharajji and has always mesmerized audiences all over the world in the several prestigious national and international festivals. As a choreographer performer, Srimati Shovana Narayanandi has spearheaded and produced international collaborative works with leading dancers of Western classical ballet, Spanish flamenco, tap dance, Buddhist dance with Buddhist monks, as well as to the compositions of Western classical composers. She was the creative director, producer, dancer of the first ever trilogy involving Western classical dance, Kathak, Spanish flamenco in the dawn after in 1994. She also does several collaborative works with leading dancers and several Indian classical dance styles. Some of her eminent choreographies are Kadambari and Shakuntala, As an organizer, Srimati Shovana Narayanan organizes many festivals annually. She has researched and discovered 8 Kathak villages near Gaya with documentary and official records. She collaborated with Sanskrit and epigraphy scholar Dr. K.K. Mishraji, who discovered Prakrit inscriptions in Ashokan Brahmi script relating to Kathak dated to 4th century BC. We are immensely happy to have Shobhana Narayananji with us today, and I welcome you once again and request you to proceed with your deliberation on yogic approach to true leadership. Namaste once again, Shobhana Narayananji.
Thank
So,
you, Dr. Mishra. Thank you
over.
so much indeed. And I'm so grateful to Dr. Sampanananji for having me here and for making me part of this beautiful program and discussion. And it is always a welcome to see Dr. Suresh Prabhu, who is such an articulate person and a very committed person to whatever he does. I've been a great admirer of his. He spoke beautifully, and your introductory thoughts. Now, I'll just was beautiful, Dr. Sampanananji. I'd just like to share a few of my feelings and views on the whole perspective of leadership and um, uh, and also uh, how yoga can help um, the and what is the role of yoga. Now, for me as a dancer, I always say Nritya is yoga. It is not separate. It is yoga. And I'm not going to go through all the 8 stages that Patanjali has mentioned because we all are going through it. But what is important? What are the attributes of a leader? The attributes of a leader is to lead, to guide, to motivate, to inspire, and change lives for the better. It is not the important part is for the better. And in that process, the question is, what is the means? What is the tool? The tool is I. The tool is each and every individual in the we each I makes up that whole society. The tool is each and every individual because wherever we are, in whatever circumstance we are, each one of us has to fulfill the role of a leader. Because even at home, the mother or the father, in a way, is a leader because what the example that he sets, the thought processes that he churns up or she churns up, is the one which is going to motivate, guide, and mold the future generation. So, what is it that we look for? So, we have to first look into ourselves that the tool has to be sharpened. The tool, that is each and every individual, has to be made a better person. So when we are talking about yoga, as we all know, Patanjali has talked about the mental, the spiritual, the. But I was very struck by what Dr. Suresh Prabhu said. He's talked about the three wings of our defense forces. I would say the body is made up of five, and I'm just adding to it that the body is made up of five elements and in those five elements, the three wings of our defense forces are already there. For example, the speech is because of vibrations. So you have the air. The body has the Agni, the Tattva, the fire, as well as the Prithvi in it, where we again have to look into the vikars or the vignas that might be. So whether it's the speech or the body. And also, he talked about the navy. Well, I would say that the mind is so flickering and wandering, and it is like a fish, always, sort of silver quick like a fish. And there it is, that here it is so as watery and slippery. So, and finally, what is it? The soul is that ether. So, so all the five elements are contained in it. But what is it? What are we trying to? We are trying to see that the ज्ञान, the ultimate योग is कि हम लोग कहते हैं कि कर्म योग है, भक्ति योग है, ज्ञान योग है और एक क्रिया योग है. So we have to have each and every aspect has to be dealt, and we have to hone each and every aspect in our personality. And in that, when we're talking about leadership, in a way, we are doing our karma. We are talking about becoming a karma yogi. We have, in fact, in our Hindu mythology, in our Indian mythology, we have two great leaders, two great yogis. In fact, I always also introduce one more yogi, but let us see the two great yogis, and that is uh, Adidev Shiva as the Mahayogi, the great, and then you have Krishna as a great karma yogi. But I also, so if one is looking after, both are looking after bhakti, and one is looking after karma, and the other one is looking into the transcendental part of it. What about Saraswati? She's looking into the gyan part. So we have so many, all the forces are coming together to tell us that we have to empty ourselves of our desires. But at one level, we have to empty ourselves of desires. But at another level, we need to have a certain amount of desire, the desire to be able to do good. And that is what, and that desire for the welfare of society. So in that, so if there is a little element of desire, this has to be for the higher purpose. Because in Buddhism, when we are talking about Buddhism, we are talking about emptiness of harmony, emptiness of desires. So you have, so that you, that leads to inner harmony. The whole purpose of our yoga, the meeting of the mind, body, the spirit, and the soul, is also that if I, as an individual, if each one of us as individuals are actually at harmony within ourselves in all respects, then we are in sync and harmony with the outer world. And that is easier said than done, because each one in that, when we are talking about the process of harmony, each one of us have our little nooks and corners of highs and lows and biases and prejudices. The point is that the moment you have biases and prejudices, I think the first thing is that you start the first process of imbalance within yourself, and therefore the process of imbalance comes in becoming a good leader, a correct leader. And therefore if and therefore I am, when I'm starting that process with those vicars, those beginners within ourselves, and we are not attending to that, then I am certainly not in harmony with surroundings, and therefore again it impacts my growth as a good leader. And each one of us, as I said, is a leader in our little respective ways. And so that whole aspect of vision and mission is extremely important. What is the clarity of our vision and mission? But at the same time, the tools and the means. And that is where I would say that even Patanjali's the eight ayams comes in. Because after all, the eight ayams are the I'm sorry, somebody insists on calling up and I'm closing it. The eight ayams are talking about, I got a little off track because of, sorry for that. But I did that if I am, and in that process, I have to say that while I'm doing this, going into that create, cleansing myself of my impurities, cleansing myself of my imbalances within, in order to be a good leader, even at home, in order to be a good leader for the society in general, because each individual I impact, even as a mother, if I'm impacting a child, that child in turn, it's a ripple effect because it impacts all others. But लेकिन उसमें I should not be so uh, uh, that in this whole process, I think there's a beautiful saying again of our ancient Sanskrit sages, which says, Chinta yascha chita yascha bindu matra vishishyate chita dahati nirjivanam chinta dahati jivanam. Now that chinta is and chita, between that there's just the difference of that one bindu for a chitta is consumed by the agni, but chinta actually consumes the living. And so, while we should have the desire, but we should not become so, we have to also take cognizance of the fact that what are the limits? What are the expectations? What are the means? Because even controlling one's anger um, and the the worry is also part of that self sanyam, which again is a very, very important aspect of a good leader. And here I would say that uh, we each one of us has potential. Very rightly said, all of us have potential. We are creative within. There is a srijnatmak pravritti within us. There's a creative instinct within us. There is we have, so let's make that, so that energy that is there, the urja that is there, let's make the potential energy into a positive kinetic energy. Let us, and therefore we have to tap that untapped potential in order to make it a positive kinetic energy within ourselves. And so that we are all, each our actions become beneficial for mankind. And finally, I would like to mention that each one of us, whether we like it or not, we are leaving behind our footprints. The question is, in the sands of time, the question is, what kind of footprint? Is the footprint something that should that people should take it as an example never to follow, or is it a footprint of a positive kind? So that is what again. So let us leave behind those positive footprints. Let's leave behind positive energies. Let's leave behind. Let's become leaders in our respective. It's the immaterial, whether it's this sphere or that sphere or that sphere, but in whichever sphere here, whichever whatever be the circumstances that we are in, let us become, leave behind positive footprints in the sands of time. And I'd like to end with a quote from Bachchanji, Harivansh Rai Bachchan. अनगिनत राही गए इस राह से उनका पता किया. अनगिनत राही गए इस राह से उनका पता किया. And before saying that, before I come to that, I would like to say, and that is what the International Yoga Day, for us, each and every moment is a moment of yoga. We have to practice yoga. Yoga is not to be practiced for 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 15 minutes. It is our life. It is a way of life. It should allow us to bring in into our lives sensitivity, concern for others. So that has to ignite that sensitive creativity within us, the sensitivity within us. It has to become a way of life. The honesty with to us own inner self is the first thing, so that then only can we be honest with the outward world, with our surroundings. And this sensitivity has to be there for each and every human being, each and every being, whether the animal kingdom or whatever kingdom of the mankind. And so, and that, so sensitivity, concern, and a kind of a feeling of brotherhood, a sharing that we, each one of us, are a small. And finally, if we look at the universe from outside, each one of us is just a speck, a small little speck. And that small little speck, but is again important because it is creating its own little environment and impacting that environment. And so, finally, I'll just end off with this quote from हरिवंश राय बच्चन. अनगिनत राही गए इस राह से उनका पता क्या, अनगिनत राही गए इस राह से उनका पता क्या, पर गए कुछ लोग इस पर छोड़ पैरों की निशान. यह निशानी मूक होकर भी बहुत कुछ बोलती है, खोल इसका अर्थ पंथी, पंथ का अनुमान. So we have to leave behind our footprints in the sands of time, positive footprints with our positive potential energy, with our kinetic energy, that we have transformed the potential energy from within, where we have rekindled uh, the sensitivity, the concern, and us, each of us, as good human beings, as because we, each one of us, is a leader, whether we recognize the fact or not, in our small little way, in our little surrounding, because each one of us is impacting surrounding around. Thank you so much indeed.
That was
Thank
so
you for giving
beautiful.
this.
That was really beautiful, Shobanaji. And I thank you from the depth of my heart for accepting our invitation and being present here and then inspire us with your beautiful words. Indeed, the leaders, they have to develop this most important quality because, as I mentioned in the last session also, that a rishi is the true leader, and a rishi is supposed to be sarva bhuta hite rata. And as you mentioned, that yoga is to be lived at every moment. It's not something that on the International Day of Yoga we remember, then have seminars, webinars, and then talk about yoga, a little bit of practice, and then again forget, and then next year we wait to bring the significance of yoga into our life. It is every moment we should live that yoga. It's the most powerful transforming tool, as Suresh Prabhuji mentioned in his session, in his speech. And we need to utilize this tool in every sphere of our life and then bring that transformation and live the life in a yogic way. And that's how we can bring out or manifest that true leader which is very much within every one of us. Thank you again for being present and for your inspiring words. So I again welcome our next speaker, Shubha Vilas ji, who is, of course, very eminent personality, needs not much introduction, yet let me introduce him. That for more than a decade of motivational speaking and corporate training experience with over numerous clients worldwide, Shubha Vilas ji is an inspirational orator, motivational speaker, storyteller, a lifestyle coach. He holds a degree in electronic engineering. His multifaceted interests led him to pursue the specialized field of patent law post engineering. So, after a brief stint in the corporate world, he chose to to leave mainstream society to live a life of contemplation, putting his energy into deep studies and interpretation of Vedic scriptures. He went on to become a monk and a spiritual seeker. Accessible and very friendly, Shubha Vilasji has a unique ability to see things from a practical perspective, applied with scriptural vision, making scriptures useful in everyone's life and creating life lessons that lead to self development roadmaps. Because he has lived the life of a monk and he is living that life of non possessiveness, he applies the consciousness of a monk in everything that he does in life. After 11 years of monkhood, he once again set out on a mission to fulfill the objective of his life, to spread joy and knowledge of living a life based on the purity of scriptures, making scriptures not just understandable but also practical and inspiring everyone to live a purpose driven, meaningful life. He works with individuals, he works with corporates, he works with institutes, he works with governments around the world through exclusive workshops, seminars, training modules, and learning retreats. As an author, writing books is an extension of his deep sense of responsibility towards society and the benefits it can derive from understanding ancient literature in the true essence. In 2013, he took on a monumental task of writing a series of books on Ramayana, a series that brought the epic out of the closet and revealed the depth of learning hidden inside. There are many more things to talk about Shubha Vilasji, not taking much time of anyone and his. So I welcome him again, Shubha Vilasji. Namaste once again. And then we would like to hear your inspiring words on yogic approach to true leadership. Being a true leader, so we will be very much inspired by your words. Welcome you again to the Rishihood University, the Rashtram School of Public Leadership. Over to you, Shubha Vilasji.
Thank you very, very much, Shri Sampadananji. Such an honor and pleasure to be on this platform. So grateful to you for considering me to be here. Very, very grateful to the Rashtram School of Public Leadership. We need such institutes, as many as possible, pioneering this effort. My humble little contribution is like a small pebble in the ocean of leadership. And I'm sure Rashtram is doing much, much in welfare to society by introducing the Indian concept of management. The world has learned so much from the West, but I think it's time now the world picks up a few management lessons from us, from the Vedic scriptures, because there's so much profoundness in what we hold. In fact, I have dedicated my entire life for this purpose of making leadership, making our scriptures so very relevant. I've chosen my PhD thesis to be on the subject of making leadership and governance from the Ramayana so very relevant to the world. So I feel myself very honored to be on this platform. I feel this is like almost like homecoming. Nothing better than this. Very grateful to Suresh Prabhu ji for his wisdom and for his immense contribution to India and for creating the Rashtra that we all aspire to be a part of. And very, very grateful to Shovana ji for her amazing wisdom and for very eloquently speaking her heart out. So grateful to be amongst all of the viewers here on this forum. So I thought I should speak something from my understanding of the concept of yogic leadership by beginning by talking about a very basic thing of yoga that almost every Indian or practically everyone in the world knows: breathing. Yoga often is so integral to pranayam, the concept of breath, because without breath, the whole concept of yoga is it just falls apart. The whole idea of breathing, inhaling, exhaling. Isn't that what leadership is? The, The process of yoga teaches us one very profound concept. It teaches us that unless you exhale, you cannot inhale. No yogi can only keep exhaling, and no yogi can only keep inhaling. Yoga is balance between exhaling and inhaling. Yoga is balance between giving and taking. Yoga is balance between breathing in and breathing out. And that's exactly what leadership is. Leadership is the balance between giving and taking. Leadership is a balance between serving and utilizing facilities for oneself. It's a balance between rights and responsibilities. No leader will be able to be a good leader if he's only taking from work, from society. If a leader is just exploiting, taking from others, he's not a good leader. A great leader is somebody who knows the art of balance. And that's what yoga teaches us. Yoga teaches us how to remain balanced and equipoised in the midst of all kinds of calamities and uncertainties. Most leaders today, they have answers to all questions, all problems when things are normal, when things are peaceful. But when things get chaotic, most leaders remain silent because they don't have answers. A yogi is a powerful leader because a yogi knows to remain calm when things are under control, and a yogi knows to remain calm when things are absolutely not under control. The yogi is so balanced in every aspect of his life that external balance leads to an internal balance. So yoga first teaches you to attain external balance, with the whole process of pranayam, pratyahar, dharana, samadhi. The whole process of the 9 limbs of yoga helps you attain a lot of external balance first, and then it helps you attain internal balance. I'm going to tell you a small story from the Mahabharata that brings this out so amazingly. During the Mahabharata war, there was a point when Ashwatthama threw the Narayana Astra at the Pandavas. And the Narayana Astra was a very powerful weapon. And no one had any idea how to counter the Narayana Astra, including Arjun. And Arjun, he was trying to figure out how to deal with it. And the more they were fighting against the Astra, the more powerful it was becoming. And everyone was just so confused. The Astra was going to destroy the whole army. Krishna, usually, in the whole war, if you see, the role of Krishna, Yogeshwar, the master of yoga, he's just sitting there, doing nothing, driving a chariot. Driving chariot is actually one of the most insignificant roles in the whole war. Usually you don't even find chariot drivers' names being mentioned. If you study the whole Mahabharata, war, you will not find any chariot driver's name being mentioned. It just says Sarathi. Hardly any few people's names are mentioned. And Krishna took that role of doing nothing, sitting there doing nothing. But a yogi is someone who, in inaction, is doing action, and in action, he's doing inaction. Bhagavad Gita talks about the idea of yogi being active while being inactive, and inactive while being active. So what does it really mean? Here, Krishna's been sitting there doing nothing. But when he realizes that nobody has a solution, he gets up. And he offers the most profound solution only a yogi can offer. You know what he tells everyone? He tells the entire army of Pandavas, drop your weapons and fall on the floor. Offer your obeisances on a battlefield. Now, in a war, no one will ever tell you to do that. Only a yogi has the guts to tell you to drop your weapons. So everyone dropped their weapons and everyone was lying on the floor just by one instruction of Krishna. Bhima went to fight against the weapon. He said, I don't care, I'm not going to fall down and all. He said, I'll die, but I'll fight against the weapon and die. Krishna actually had to wrestle with him, push him down, put him on the floor, threw his weapon. And as soon as everyone was on the floor offering obeisances, the Narayana Astra disappeared. just disappeared. Some problems in life don't have to be fought against. In front of some problems, we need to surrender. Many problems in life have to be fought against. But there are some problems in life you have to approach it with humility. Right now, all of us are in the midst of a problem that cannot be fought against. You have to become humble, lock down, stay at home, wear masks, social distance. We are all in front of a problem that you cannot fight against. This is not the time to go and show your courage. This is the time to become humble. Lying on the floor essentially means submitting yourself. A leader, a good leader knows when to fight and when to become humble. Humility is not a sign of weakness. Humility, in fact, is a sign of strength. But only when someone understands the principles of yoga, he understands to rise above this idea of always showing your power. There are 5 things in the Patanjali Yoga Sutras that really show the power of what great leadership is. The first thing the Patanjali Yoga Sutras talks about is avidya. Avidya essentially means wrong perceptions. Lack of knowledge is the first problem. Every leader, when he's trying to deal with problems in society, when he's trying to help people, help society, the first problem that he'll face is avidya, lack of knowledge. Lack of knowledge, actually, if you translate it from a Sanskrit point of view, avidya, if it's translated into English, obviously there are some words there are no translations to them, right? But avidya, if you want to find a closest connection to it, in my understanding, it is wrong perceptions. Wrong perceptions are a result of the lack of knowledge. So when a leader has the right perceptions, he can take the right decisions and he can take the society towards the right direction. Avidya is always connected with asmita. Asmita means ego, egotism. So the idea of egotism is very much embedded with the idea of wrong perceptions, because when you have wrong perceptions and you think you're right, that is what is called ego in essence, right? Ego essentially is about not wanting to look at other alternatives, wanting to really push your point of view, your opinion. Every leader should give up one's ego to listen to other people. Asmita, to deal with asmita, you need understanding and you need acceptance. Avidya and asmita together lead to raga and dvesha, which are 2 other problems. Raga means attachment and dvesha means aversion. Attachment to what you think is right and aversion to what others think is right. Attachment to your thoughts and aversion from other people's thoughts. Aversion, dvesha, it is usually stemming out of bad experience. If you had one bad experience, you don't want to do it again. A lot of people do not take up the path of yoga simply because of one bad experience. We have bad experience with every aspect of life. Simply one bad experience does not disqualify something from being good. So, so a yogic leader is someone who's dealing with avidya and asmita, which leads to raga and dvesha, and that leads to eventually what is known as fear. It's called as abhinivesha. Abhinivesha means insecurity and fear. Today, leaders are highly insecure people. I do a lot of corporate events across the world. And I'll tell you, in my little humble experience of leadership, I find some of the most successful and powerful leaders are also some of the most insecure leaders. So insecure, though they are so powerful, though they have so much power, facility, resources, money, and everything else. Abhinivesha, the idea of fear and insecurity, stems from raga dvesha, which stems from avidya and asmita. A yogi is someone who learns how to deal with these 5 most powerful aspects of life. And only a yogi who's equipped to deal with these five things can be a powerful leader. The Ramayana just reveals this. If you study the Ramayana from a leadership perspective, it's such a powerful book. I always tell people, if you just study Ramayana and Mahabharata, you do not need to study any other self-help book. You do not need to study any other book of management. I'm going to give you a very simple thought from the Ramayana that will help us understand the quality of Ram's leadership. When Bharat goes to meet Ram in Chitrakoot, and Ram has left Ayodhya voluntarily. He's been asked to leave by Kaikeyi, but of course he stepped out voluntarily, without creating any commotion, without creating any chaos, and with great grace and dignity. When Bharat comes to meet Ram in Chitrakoot, there's a discussion between Ram and Bharat. In my understanding, that discussion is the blueprint of Ram Raj. If anybody wants to know what Ram Raj is, study that discussion between Ram and Bharat. It's such a powerful discussion, and there are so many amazing concepts of leadership that Ram speaks. Of all the things that Ram speaks and the whole discussion, I feel that this discussion talks about something very important from a yogic leadership point of view. Ram and Bharat, as they're talking to each other, they're talking about a very important principle of life. Ram and Bharat are talking about what is right and what is more right. Ram is telling Bharat, this is right. Bharat is telling Ram, no, this is more right. And Ram is telling, no, this is more right than what your right is. So the fight between the two brothers, see, India has seen so many fights between brothers, right? I mean, I don't think there's any other country in the world that has something known as a small causes court. Small causes court is simply family disputes. And the number of family disputes that are there in India is so many, But here is another family dispute between Ram and Bharat. But the dispute is not about right and wrong. There's no question of Ram in Ayodhya. The discussion is between right and more right. In Lanka, Vibhishan and Ravan, they don't fight at all. Why they don't fight? Because if they fight, the day Vibhishan opened his mouth, he kicked out of the country. Straight away kicked out. In Lanka, you don't fight. You just keep quiet. And the discussions in the courtrooms of Lanka is not between right and wrong. It is always between wrong and more wrong. The ministers of Ravan asking Ravan, you got Sita so many days back. Why don't you do something to her? Why don't you, molest her? Ravan is telling, I want to do it, but what to do? I have a curse on my head. And he talks about his curse. So the discussion there is not between right and wrong. The discussion is what is wrong and what is more wrong. And in Kishkinda, which is in between Ayodhya and Lanka, there is fight between Vali and Sugriv, the two brothers. There, the fight is about right and wrong. From Vali's point of view, his perception, he feels Sugriv is wrong, I am right. From Sugriv's point of view, I am right and Vali is wrong. It's all about avidya, wrong perceptions. But here, between Ram and Bharat, the discussion is not about right and wrong, the discussion is about right and more right. Because both Ram and Bharat speak at the level of knowledge. And because they speak at the level of knowledge, there is no question of avidya being involved in that discussion. And because they speak at the level of knowledge, and they do not allow their ego to come in between. Imagine, Bharat is telling Ram, you come and be the king. I want you to be the king. You are more qualified than me. I am not as qualified as you. Ram is telling, I may be more qualified, but our father wants you to be the king. Here, the question is not about qualification and disqualification. The question is not about the ego. Ram and Bharat do not bring their ego into the discussions. They do not allow their ego to come in between the idea of leadership. And even when Ram convinces Bharat to rule, he says, I will make your footwear, Paduka, sit on the throne. Where is their ego? So Ram has given up his throne and Bharat has given up the desire to sit on the throne. And therefore, both of them have given up their ego. And once Asmita is gone, there is no raga, there is no attachment. Bharat is not eating, not one day out of the 14 years, Bharat eats Rajbhog, the facilities for a king. Eating Rajbhog, it actually talks about facilities. Most leaders, they lead because they get facilities along with it. Every time the discussion is about compensation, pay package, and facilities, right? But here, Bharat is taking all the rights of the leader, but he's not, sorry, he's taking all the responsibilities of the leader, but he's not taking any of the rights of the leader. And that's what yogic leadership is. Bharat sleeps on the floor. And that too doesn't sleep on the same level or on the ground. He sleeps 2 feet below the ground because he doesn't want to sleep on the same level as his brother Ram. He eats once a day barley soaked in cow urine. And he bathes at 2 o'clock in the morning, much before Brahma Muhurta. Why? Because he feels I am responsible for the exile of Ram. And he feels I don't want anybody to look at me first thing in the morning. After doing all these sacrifices, when he hands over the kingdom back to Ram, the kingdom is 9 times bigger than what he received it from Dasharath. That's what leadership is, right? So when the leader he has no raga, he has no dvesha also. He is not angry. He was initially angry at his mother, Kaikeyi, for messing up everything in Ayodhya. But Bharadwaj Muni helped Bharat reconcile with Kaikeyi. Bharadwaj Muni told him something amazing. He told him, your anger that you carry in your heart is going to separate you from your goal, from Ram. So he says, if you really want to please Ram, first give up your anger towards your mother. And he tells him, as a person, so usually we hold a lot of grudges in our hearts. We hold a lot of, resentment and anger in our hearts. And this is one of the big problems in leadership. There's always a desire for revenge, right? So this badla, revenge, vengeance, frustration, anger, grudge, all this is something that a lot of leaders hold on to. But Bharadwaj Muni, before Bharat met Ram, he helped him drop his grudge against his own mother. And he helped Bharat resolve his hatred towards his mother and forgive her. And that's what helped him become a great yogi, yogic leader. Dvesha was dropped. And when Raga Dvesha is dropped, there's no question of fear, there's no question of insecurity. Bharat is not insecure about, whether Ram is going to come back or no. In fact, Ram tested him. When Ram returned back to Ayodhya, just before he entered Ayodhya, he stopped at Bharadwaj Muni's ashram and he sent Hanuman ahead to meet Bharat. And when Hanuman went to meet Bharat, so Ram told Hanuman, test Bharat. The moment you tell him the news that I'm coming back, look at Bharat's eyes. Ram told Hanumanji. He said, look at Bharat's eyes. If you find a little bit of insecurity in Bharat, thought that I'm coming back, any kind of fear and insecurity, tell me, I'll never return back to Ayodhya. Hanumanji conveys the message to Ram or to Bharat that Ram is returning back and looks at the eyes of Bharat. When he looks at the eyes of Bharat, he sees so much joy, not one iota of insecurity and fear. And immediately Hanumanji comes and returns back to Ram and tells him, Bharat absolutely is happy to have you back. And that's when Ram comes back. So here, just in this discussion, this conversation between Ram Bharat and observation of the dealings between Ram Bharat, we find ideal yogic leadership being there. Yogic leadership is above selfishness. Yogic leadership is above one's own needs, interests, and concerns. Yogic leadership is centered around the idea of balance. The leader gains, but more than he gains, he thinks about giving. The idea of loka sangraha, the idea of actually sharing the resources with the world. And that's what makes Vedic leadership powerful, the idea of yogic leadership powerful. Just analyzing the whole thing from everything we spoke so far. We spoke about breathing, the yoga, the principle of yoga being breathing in, breathing out. We spoke about the idea of inhale, exhale, the idea of taking and giving, the idea of taking from society and giving back to society. We then spoke about the idea of how every leader, the most important priority of a leader is to learn to deal with uncertainties. A leader can deal with uncertainties if and only if a leader is stable in the most chaotic platform. We spoke about the story of Krishna on the chariot, and when Ashwatthama's Narayanastra came, he instructed everyone to drop their weapons and lie down. Surrendering Humbling oneself is not a sign of weakness. In fact, it is a sign of great strength. Only a yogi who has extreme power in his own, uh, centered around knowledge, centered around his faith in higher aspects of life, and centered around the idea of um, cooperation. Such a yogi can think of becoming humble, submitting oneself. Otherwise, most people, they're so egoistic that they do not want to humble themselves in any situation of life, and that humility manifests in the form of great leadership. We spoke about the idea of right and wrong, and then we spoke about the idea of right and more right, and the idea of wrong and more wrong. And we spoke about how Ram and Bharat, the whole conversation was centered around the idea of right and more right. They were not bothered about wrong because wrong didn't exist in their dictionary. The idea was how I can be as right as possible. And the idea of rightness is connected to the idea of yoga. These five things that we spoke about, Patanjali Yoga Sutra speaking about, avidya, the idea of dealing with wrong perceptions, asmita, the idea of dealing with your own ego, with acceptance and understanding, the idea of dealing with wrong perceptions with the right knowledge. And then we spoke about raga and dvesha, aversion and attachment, dealing with aversion and attachment by allowing, not allowing one's avidya and ego to influence. And finally, the idea of dealing with fear means the idea of not being insecure. Every leader will do great in leadership if he remembers just one thing: all of us are replaceable. No matter who we are, we're all replaceable. We're just here for a short duration of time. After that, we're gone. The question is, what kind of legacy do we want to leave behind? Do we want to leave behind a legacy where people celebrate our disappearance? That means they're happy that we are gone because they feel that our contribution has been more nuisance value than actually addition. Or do we want to leave a legacy of great faith and great understanding? Leave a legacy of which touches people's hearts. Leadership has been an explored phenomena in the history of mankind. And when you know when Krishna speaks about leadership in the Gita, yadyad acharati yadyad acharati shreshtas tattat evataro jana. So he says, Sayat Pramanam Kurute, Lokastad Anuvartate. He says, Yatyad Acharati Shreshta, then whatever great leaders do, Acharati, Shreshta is, Acharati is behavior, Shreshta is great leaders. Tattat Evata Rojana, the common man just follows it. And Sayat Pramanam Kurute, what standard they set, that's the standard. Lokatad Anuvartate. That standard common man emulates. The question is, as leaders, what standard do you want to set? Do we want to set a standard so low that people are much lower in their own standards? Or do we want to set a standard so high that to reach there is almost impossible? But in the process of trying to reach there, human beings stretch themselves up, have to improve themselves tremendously, and finally reach there. Ramayana is a book of leadership. It teaches us a high standard of leadership that almost is impossible to reach. And only when you have such a high standard of leadership will you push yourself to reach there. But if you have a very compromised standard of leadership, what will you push to achieve? You don't even have to try to achieve anything because you don't have to push yourself much. And therefore, by studying great literature like the Ramayana, the Mahabharata, it teaches us exemplary standards of leadership. We learn the idea of yogic leadership and we learn the idea of what it really takes to be a great leader in society. I'm so very grateful to the Rashtram School of Leadership Studies, and I'm so very grateful to Sampadananji for having invited me here to share my thoughts on leadership. And I hope whatever I spoke has been useful and will add to the contribution of yogic leadership. Thank you very much.
Very grateful to you, Shubha Vilasji. It was a very inspiring and very thought-provoking talk of yours. And the very fact that you started with that inhaling and exhaling is a beautiful example. There has to be this balance like the two sides of the coin. The inhaling and exhaling has to be balanced in every aspect of life. And the most important message from the Gita, that action in inaction and inaction in action, karmani akarma yah pasyat, akarmani cha karma yah. That indeed is the uh, very foundational truth of any yogic quality or true leadership. So, how does one maintain that inaction in action and action in inaction, where actually it speaks about the Purusha and Prakriti? How to maintain the silence of the Purusha while being dynamic like the Prakriti, and then how to remain dynamic like the Prakriti yet carry that silence in every work that we do. And that silence is very much necessary for any kind of leadership. And that's exactly is you pointed out, the karmani akarma yah pashet. And the five other things like avidya, asmita, raga, dvesha, abhinivesha, that we must get rid of all these things, because these are the real enemies which do not allow us to make a progress or contribute something positively towards the transformation of ourselves and transformation of the society, which is the very purpose of the leadership, purpose of life, purpose of yoga, purpose of spirituality. So your stories are always beautiful. The story that you narrated, that how a leader, he doesn't have to enjoy the Raja Bhoga. So today, if we look at the quality of leadership that we have, everyone is busy eating the Raja Bhoga, but where is the Raja Dharma? So it is that Raja Bhoga has to be, as the greatest example that you gave of Bharata, that yes, so it doesn't want, a true leader doesn't want to take anything. It's his life is always giving. So how does he give? How does he offer himself? A complete surrender. He just knows to give. He doesn't want to take anything. So he just wants to give. And that self-giving, that giving itself is the greatest quality of true leadership. And thank you once again, from the depth of my heart and on behalf of the Rashtram School of Leadership and Rishihud University, for accepting our invitation and then presenting such beautiful talk. And we are looking that if there are certain questions for you, so we will, like ask you. But from my side, I would like to ask you one thing before Pratishtha ji joins for the next session, that what would be your message to the present youth of India, especially? So, in this situation, looking at the present situation, and how do we bring out the leadership quality or leadership aspect in them, and then how do we inspire, because today's youth is engaged, is of a very different type, though it has a lot of openness and it wants to enjoy the freedom, but it's in a very rudimentary level. It doesn't understand how to utilize the freedom, but it has a lot of potentiality, a lot of openness towards doing something good for the nation, doing good, something good for the entire humanity, but needs proper guidance. So what will be your message, that how should we inspire the youth of today to lead a purposeful life and contribute positively towards the evolutionary progress of itself and the humanity?
In my interaction with youngsters, I've been uh, talking and interacting with thousands of youngsters over the last few years. Almost on a daily basis, I am interacting with youngsters. And I find one thing very powerful in youngsters: they don't fear asking tough questions. This idea of asking questions is so fundamental to the idea of spirituality. Every scripture, Gita, Bhagavatam, every scripture, is essentially questions. The Ramayana begins with a question. Valmiki asking Narad Muni a question. Every scripture is oriented towards question answers. So my advice to youngsters is that ask questions. but ask questions to the right people. When you ask tough questions to the right people, you will get answers that give you clarity, and that clarity will give you great realization, and it will give you great energy is plenty in youngsters. I'm finding that today's youngsters have unlimited energy, and their ability to absorb information is very powerful. What they really need today is a channel to channelize the energy and to make that information into something tangible as a transformation. So, if youth can ask the right questions to the right person, and when they get the answers, use their energy in the right direction, and then they will experience powerful transformation in their lives. And that transformation is going to be beneficial for themselves and beneficial to society. So youth are very frivolously looking for change in life. They want to change everything. But rather than looking for change, they should just simply start looking for transformation. Change is very external, but transformation is very internal. Rather than focusing on changing your hairstyle, look at transforming your inner being. This would be my humble advice to youngsters. Ask tough questions to the right person. When you get answers, utilize and channelize your energy in the right direction. And that will actually help you experience transformation, which is deeply internal.
And also asking the right kind of questions. Yes. And yes, there is one more question. So the question is how to control anger when you see so much of injustice all around.
Usually, anger is a result of some unmet need. So if you see injustice around you, that manifests in the form of anger. So now there are some things that we can change or we can do something about. But there are many things we cannot do something about. So rather than crying, getting angry, getting frustrated, and being upset with society and with the ways things are functioning, I would say start making transformations on a one-to-one basis. Every person helps himself experience transformation and helps at least one more person experience transformation. You may not be able to change the world, but if you can change one person who's next to you, you would have done a great service. So, my suggestion to all those angry people around is simply this: direct your anger towards creating a tangible change in somebody next to you. With your example and with your help one person become exactly what you're thinking should be an ideal leader or ideal society, right? Just help one person. If every youngster today helps just one more person become pure, become grateful, become righteous, become integral, then you'll experience a nation which goes through transformation. Nation is ultimately people, a set of people. Just like that sparrow who the sparrow wanted to dry up the entire ocean. How she wanted, the ocean ate up her eggs. She was wanting to dry up the entire ocean. She was so small. She was carrying one drop of water and throwing it out. How many drops of water will she have to carry to empty the entire ocean? Unlimited. But because she was doing it with great determination, she attracted the attention of Garuda. And Garuda came, and in one moment, he could have dried up the whole ocean in one moment. And because of Garuda's presence, the ocean really got scared and turned back the eggs to the sparrow. All of us are like that sparrow. Let us show our sincerity by taking one drop here, bringing that one drop of, bringing one person to righteousness, the path of righteousness. Just one person we take, suddenly you will find a massive power coming to help you, and you'll create a massive transformation on a societal level, basically.
Okay, so that was beautiful, and once again I thank you, and we look forward to many more sessions by you. So I think we have our next speaker, Acharya Pratishtha ji. Namaskar, Acharya Pratishtha ji, and we welcome you to this forum. Today is a very special day for every one of us. being the International Day of Yoga. And so we welcome you at the Rashtram School of Public Leadership, Rishihudi University, Sonipat. And we're very, very happy that you accepted our invitation. And then we were looking forward to your words on yogic approach to true leadership. And dear viewers, Srimati Acharya Pratishtha ji is an Indian classical dancer and exponent of yoga. She is the founder of Bharat College of Performing Arts. She studied yoga with her father, Honorable Padmashri Bharat Bhushanji, and with Guru Shankar Apte Kathak Kendra, New Delhi. Z Network, she is the youngest yogacharya there, mind therapist. Or yoga show Jago Bharat Dhyan Yog Andolan is a telecast every day thrice at Z Jagran channel. So she was posted as a yoga guru and Kathak performer at the post of cultural attacher of India ICC Johannesburg, and she has performed yoga postures for popular art film Incredible India by Ministry of Tourism, Government of India. As a student, she worked with Kathak gurus such as Guru Rajendra Gangani, Guru Jai Kishan Maharaj Ji, Guru Gitanjali Lal. She has been more than 6,000 hours of lectures, which is unimaginable, and is invited as a guest lecturer and motivational speaker at different colleges and universities. She is awarded with many national and international honors. So she has written articles and books on yoga as well as dance, and she has visited many countries for the promotion of and propagation of Indian art and culture and dance through cultural ministry, India Council for Cultural Relation, and even through her own personal trips. So we once again welcome you, Acharya ji, and then we're looking forward to your inspiring words. Over to you, Acharya ji.
Ji, I'm really thankful to Sampadanand ji and the entire organization for having me today, though it was a very, very busy day and the entire month as we celebrate the 7th International Day of Yoga today. Well, being a part of all the key government committees of IDY, I had several commitments today, but it is an honor to be here and to speak on this wonderful topic. I strongly feel that at least on 7th International Day of Yoga, we have to realize and understand what yoga is before going to any other topic. Because it is an honor for each and every Indian that today, because yoga is our cultural heritage, and today entire world has opened its arms to accept and adapt yoga, and not just arms, but hearts to accept yoga. And at this time, it's very important for us, especially Indians, because we have yoga in DNA. We have yoga in our DNA, and we have India, Bharat has given yoga to the entire world. It's very, very important that we all should adapt and accept yoga in our day-to-day life. Now, when we talk about yoga, it is misunderstood most of the time as a mere set of physical exercises. Yoga is not just a mere set of physical exercises, but a complete lifestyle. It is a science, it is a divine science that teaches us how to live and even how to die. It is a divine science that touches all the levels of human life, whether we talk about physical level, mental level, social level, emotional level, intellectual level, financial level, and even spiritual level. The most easiest definition of yoga is yoga karmasu kaushalam. Full perfection in your work is yoga. And it is vice versa as well. If you want perfection in your work, you have to adapt yoga in your lifestyle. And if you are doing something perfectly, absolutely perfectly, yoga has already happened in your life. And when we talk about true leadership, What is leadership? As I said, yoga karmasu kaushalam. Whatever you do in life, you have to be very, very, it's very, very important that you adapt yoga in your day to day life. So, to become a leader and to have the true leadership, it is very important that we adapt yoga in our life because we need to keep our body healthy, we need to keep our mind healthy, and we need to elevate our soul. Generally, we think yoga, for yoga, body is the subject. But if body is the subject, then why Maharshi Patanjali would have mentioned yoga chitta vritti nirodha? चित्त की वृत्तियों का निरोध ही योग है. वो कह सकते थे शरीर वृत्ति निरोधा, उन्होंने नहीं कहा. So it is clearly mentioned chitta vritti nirodha, modifications of mind. Once we learn how to control the modifications of mind, we can control anything in our life. It is so unfortunate that we want to win other people's mind. हम दूसरों का मन तो जीतना चाहते हैं, पर अपना मन नहीं जीत पाते हैं. Instead of winning other people's mind, we should think about winning our own mind. Because we are what our mind is. We are what we think. We become what we think. And for that, there is a very easy practice, which in Bharat Yoga we call it self-talk therapy. All of your wonderful viewers, I would say yoga lovers, yoga sadhaks who are watching and witnessing today's talk, I would just want them to experience a very, very short meditation. You know, how do we start our day? We want to become true leaders, but then how are we beginning our day? How are we living? How are we sitting? How are we standing? How are we sleeping? How are we waking up? How are we breathing? Everything matters. And who is a leader? Let me just share a very short story with you. Who is a leader? So this story is from an Indian saint. A lady took her child to the saint and said, Swamiji, he eats too much of good, jaggery. That time there were no chocolates. So she said, he eats too much of jaggery, and I want you to tell him not to eat jaggery because you are his real inspiration. You are a leader for him. If you will say you should not eat jaggery, he will leave eating jaggery. Swamiji looked at the child, he thought something, and then he said, okay, fine. Bring your child after 15 days. She said, fine. She took her child back. She returned back after 15 days, and when she returned back, she again went to Swamiji. She said, Swamiji, you asked me to come after 15 days. I'm here, and now please tell my child not to eat jaggery. He said, okay, bring him after 15 days. She was surprised. She took him back. She again came back after 15 days. So same way, after 2 days, after 3 days, this kept on happening. And finally, she brought her child, and Swamiji said, listen, you should not eat too much of sweet. You should not eat too much of jaggery, and you should stop eating it. Because ati sarvatra varjayat, excess of everything is wrong. That's it. Lady was shocked. She was astonished. She said, Swamiji, I really want to ask you this thing you could have said long back. You asked me to come so many times, and you have said just these few simple words. He said, Beta, that time I also used to eat jaggery. How could I tell my disciples not to do what I do myself? So that is the responsibility of a leader. If I am a yoga sadhak, I am a yoga guru, and I'm asking you, you should practice this because it makes your hair healthy. You should practice this because it brings glow on your skin. But then on the contrary, I have my own hair in very bad condition. I have my own skin not glowing. There is no tage on my skin. So my disciples would say, you don't have it yourself. How can you expect us to do that? So to become a true leader, who is a true leader? To become a true leader, whether you are a guru, whether you are a teacher, whether you are a parent, practice what you preach. It is very, very important. So when you begin your day, how do you begin your day? Because as I said, generally people ask me, there are few questions that they generally ask me. This morning I was at Red Fort. The main event, IDY event of the Culture Ministry was happening there, and I was conducting that. And I realized it was just 30 to 40 minutes of session, but the way people rejuvenated, the way they started glowing is all what we receive from yoga. So how do we begin our day? I I mentioned it there also that they asked me, Acharya, what time we should practice yoga? So generally in all books you will find okay to practice yoga sadhana, you should do it early in the morning or you should do it in the evening. You should be empty stomach while doing it. That's absolutely fine. To practice yoga abhyas, the physical aspect of yoga, you should do it in the morning, empty stomach, or in the evening. But when the question is when do we practice yoga, yoga abhyas नहीं, योग कब करें? तो हमारे शास्त्र कहते हैं कि खावत पीवत सोवत जागत नेकु विसर नहीं जाए. खाते पीते सोते जागते, you have to be a 24-hour yogi while eating, while drinking, while sleeping, while waking up. Yoga should be visible in your personality. If it is not, that means you're only preaching, but you're not practicing it. Now, when I say every moment you should be yogamaya, you should be into yoga. How do we do this? We need to understand that. When you wake up in the morning, let's start from the waking up. When you wake up in the morning, just observe yourself. What do you do in the morning? Unfortunately, 90% of the people just wake up, take their screen, their mobile phone, and start doing mindless scrolling. This is really unfortunate. What we put inside ourselves early in the morning, whether it is about body, what we are putting inside our body, that means what we are eating, or what we are putting inside our mind, that means what is our first thought, that creates your entire day. So you should be very, very careful how you are beginning your day. If you begin your day with a bad news, if you begin your day with a stressful thought, if you begin your day with a negative thought, with negativity around you, this is how your entire day is going to be. But if you begin your day with gratitude, if you begin your day with breath control, you begin your day with some positive thinking, some positive feeling, the entire day is going to be like that. So how shall we begin our day? I will be sharing a very easy technique with you all because there should be something take home from these sessions. You know, when we listen to some great people, we really feel inspired. When I conduct so many sessions, that is the moment you feel, yes, we should do that. But then when there is no take home, after some time, we start going back to the normal routine and we forget what we heard. Hence, it's very important that we should learn few things that we can practice in our day-to-day life. So all the participants, I would request everyone to close your eyes. A very short meditation. Just close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Exhale. Again, take a deep breath. Exhale. Again, take a deep breath. Exhale. Now bring a smile on your face. Eyes will remain closed and have gratitude for your breath. Oh Paramatma, I'm really grateful to you for this breath. I'm really grateful to you for this beautiful morning I have got. I'm really grateful to you for this life, and I'm really grateful to you for each and everything I have. Again, take a deep breath. Exhale. Tell yourself, I am Paramatma's child. I'm child of that Parampita, and just like I have inherited the qualities of my Pita, my father, I have inherited the qualities of Parampita. the Supreme Father. I just need to enhance my qualities. I just need to enhance my qualities through continuous sadhana. This is going to be a beautiful day. This is going to be the best day ever. I'm going to do some great things today. I am the best and I am child of Paramatma. And then we rub our palms. We place our palms on our eyes and gently we open our eyes. So this is a very, very easy and small practice which we should be doing. Um, Sampadanandji mentioned few things about me just before the session, and I think this is what he shared happened long back. Recently, before last year, 3 years back, I was sent on an assignment to Mauritius by the Indian government as a very senior diplomat. And let me tell you, when we talk about leadership, when you are under stressful conditions, that is the time when you actually realize your own strength. And that is the time when you need to understand yoga more deeply. You know, generally people think, let me get out of stress, then I'll start yoga. Let me finish this assignment, then I'll start yoga. Let me finish this work, then I'll start yoga. But we have to begin our journey from right now, right here, because the biggest lesson of yoga was given at the battlefield, where the strongest of warriors, Arjun, left his weapons. And that was the time when Shri Krishna said, Tasmat yogi bhava Arjuna. उठ और अपने कार्य की ओर, अपने कर्म की ओर बढ़. So yoga is not for those who are very healthy. Of course, it is for them also. But yoga is actually for those who are living under stressful conditions, and you have to begin your journey from right there. When we are leaders, we need more of yogic practices. And when we want to become leaders, we need more of yogic practices. Because with the continuous practice of yoga, we can not only have a healthy body, but also we can have a positive mind. And when we have a positive mind, there is nothing in this world that can't be attained. So everyone must begin their day with this beautiful short meditation, which we did just now, and then make sure, in Hindi, I always say, kursi ka moh bahut bura hota hai. So leave your moh from your chair. So these days we are just sitting on the chair and we are working from home entire day. We are just sitting. So it's very, very important that after you should follow the rule of 2020 of Bharat Yoga, which is very, very beneficial for each and every person. After every 20 minutes, take a 30 seconds pause. Just understand it. After first 20 minutes, take a 30 seconds pause. And then what do you do in that 30 seconds? You remove your eyes from the screen, look far ahead, and just blink your eyes like this. Blink your eyes for 30 seconds and then palming. This is going to improve your brain capacities. This is going to improve your mental abilities, and gently remove your hands. And this is also going to improve your memory, wisdom, and intellect. Then after 20 minutes, after doing this, start doing your work. After 20 minutes, you leave your chair and walk around your chair for 30 seconds, which is very, very important to have better circulation of blood, to have better intake of oxygen, especially at this crucial time of pandemic. We all have seen and realized the importance of breath and oxygen, which our ancient yogic science and yogis had been telling since ages. So it's very important that you keep yourself mobile and you stay away from mobile. So when I say stay away from mobile, that means stay away from mobile phone, but keep your body mobile by being active. And then make sure that 5 times a day we should practice attahas, which is very, very important. How do we do this? Just relax your abdomen, relax your chest, leave your body loose, and free laughter for 30 seconds. And then close your eyes. Let this laughter shower back on you. Whatever we give to the world, we get it back. You give stress, you get it back. You give tension, you get it back. You give love, you get it back. You give peace, you get it back. You give laughter, you get it back. So be very careful about what do we want in life, because what you are giving, you will get it back. So I would just end my talk with a sharing a recent incident that happened to me. One of a very senior diplomat met me and he said, Acharya ji, tension लेने की नहीं देने की चीज होती है. Tension is not to take, it is to give. So I just thought of it for some time and then I told him, tension ना लेने की ना देने की चीज होती है. So it is not even to take and it is neither to take nor to give. So stay away from stress, stay away from tension, and always remember life is a cycle. Life is a circle. जीवन चक्र है, जीवन रेखा नहीं है. Whatever you will give, you will get it back. So be very, very careful in what you are giving to the world, because that is what you will be receiving back. I'm thankful to the organizers of this wonderful event. I am thankful to my brother who introduced me. And I would just request everyone to not make 7th International Day of Yoga just a festival of one day. Adapt yoga in your everyday life and accept yoga as a lifestyle and let it become a festival of entire life. Live a yogic life. Yogi bane, upyogi bane, sahyogi bane, nirogi bane.
Dhanyavad Acharya ji. It was really inspiring, and your practical guidance, when little tips, they make a very big difference of that 20 minutes pause. So we really forget to take a pause and then look at ourselves. So that was really beautiful, and your young spirit and the way you inspire the youth. So the world needs more people like you to inspire the youth, and we look forward to more sessions by you in the future, because there are a lot of youth who are going to be connected with us, and we would like you to be with us and inspire them. And once again, we express our deep sense of gratitude for accepting and then being with us on this auspicious day. And your words will truly inspire us. Dhanyavads.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
viewers, so with this, we come to the end of the sessions. Then I thank all the viewers to be present here, and my colleagues and Mohit to be a part of us and then help us in all possible manner. And let's celebrate it and live the yogic principles to make our life purposeful. Hari Om Tat Sat. ओम शांति शांति शांति. धन्यवाद.